Regev is a senior advisor to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Israeli ambassador to the UK. He is joining us live now. Thank you, sir, for your time this morning. We sincerely appreciate it. Can you tell us anything new in terms of what we should expect today during this extension in terms of additional release of hostages?
So we're hopeful that over today and towards the evening, we'll receive another 10 hostages. Women and children released by Hamas as part of the arrangement that was brokered with the help of President Biden. And we're very appreciative of his support in helping us get our hostages out. That'll take the number, after the 10 tonight, that'll take the number of people released in the framework of this arrangement, 60. That's a good number. But I have to tell you, there's still 163 hostages in Gaza, men and women, and we're not going to rest until every last hostage comes out.
Do you know if any of those 10 that you're expecting to be released today are Americans? I know there's 2 women who are being held right now. I think roughly 10 total Americans being held, but 2 women being held. Do you know if they're part of that group that'll be released today?
I'm sorry, but we're under specific instructions not to talk about names on lists until they actually set foot back into Israel, until they're on our soil again, because we're always concerned about raising hopes and then it not happening. I can tell you, yesterday we received 11, and amongst the 11 there were children, and of the children there were twins aged 3, 2 young little girls, infants you could even say. And then you have to ask yourself the following question: what sort of people kidnap 3-year-olds? And I think that says all you need to know about Hamas. We are dealing with a brutal, fanatical, cruel terrorist organization. You know, until today they deny. They say their attack, their massacre of October 7th, they say was against Israeli military targets. So we'd say, good morning. Who are these 2 little girls that you're releasing? They are also military targets?
I know this current extension of the ceasefire is continuing through tomorrow. Are negotiations ongoing to extend that even further?
So the Israeli position is clear. We took a decision already last week where we said we agreed to the deal, which was for 4 days for 50 hostages. And then we've said we're willing to extend it additional days, each day for 10 more hostages. So we're due to receive 10 again today, 10 again tomorrow. We're willing to go on. And I think people who want to see this humanitarian pause extended should be putting pressure on Hamas. They can do it. All they have to do is release more hostages.
Can you absolutely, what hope do you have that perhaps, are we witnessing, do you think that do you fully intend, I should ask, to resume the fighting? Is there any belief, hope, planning at all to suggest that maybe perhaps we're in the early stages of the end of this conflict if things go far enough, or do you fully expect to go back into fighting mode?
In the end, we have to go back to fighting. Not that we want to, but we have to. Because if we don't destroy Hamas's military machine, if we don't end their rule of Gaza, we're just back to square one. You know, their leadership has said publicly and repeatedly that given the opportunity, they would commit another October 7th massacre. Their words, they said it. They said they'd do it again and again and again. No country, no people should have to live next to a terrorist enclave and live in constant fear of terrorists crossing the border in the middle of the night and butchering their children. No one should live that way. We refuse to live that way. And the only way is to end Hamas's rule over Gaza. And frankly, Israelis refuse to live any longer next to this terror enclave. But getting rid of Hamas is not just good for Israelis, who really are entitled to a secure life and safety. But getting rid of Hamas is also good for Palestinians who deserve better. You know, Hamas has been ruling the Gaza Strip for 16 years. 16. And what have they brought the people of Gaza? Only suffering and pain and poverty. And the people of Gaza also deserve better.
Do you have a sense yet, though, what progress you've made in terms of that goal of eradicating Hamas? What progress do you feel Israel's made on that front so far?
Well, the most important progress is this release of hostages. Hamas wouldn't have done it. They're only doing it because we put them under military pressure. The Israeli Defense Forces have been destroying their military machine. We've been taking out their senior commanders. The only reason they agreed to this humanitarian pause for the release of prisoners was because they were under amazing pressure. And if they agree to the continuation of this pause, and we hope they do because we want to get our people out, it's because they fear the blows of the IDF that will come after the end of the pause.
And when you go back to fighting, yesterday we heard some strong words from your defense minister saying that Israel will come back to Gaza and strike harder than it did prior to the ceasefire. There have been concerns about the amount of civilian casualties we've seen in Gaza as this conflict has continued on. What is Israel prepared to do to protect the civilian life that is in Gaza right now?
We don't want to see civilians caught up in the crossfire. And we're making a maximum effort to avoid civilian casualties. And we've actually designated and we've shared our maps with the UN and, of course, with the United States government. We've maps of where there are secure zones, safer zones, where people can flee, where we know there won't be fighting. So Israel is making a maximum effort to keep civilians out of harm's way. You have to know, though, that Hamas has the opposite goal. And as the United States has said, as Britain has said, as the European Union has said, Hamas has a deliberate policy of using Gazan civilians as human shields. They embed themselves under urban areas. They embed themselves under hospitals, under schools, under mosques. That's the way Hamas works. So while Israel is trying to limit the number of civilian casualties, Hamas actually has the opposite goal. And it makes it very difficult for us. But nonetheless, we are making a maximum effort to keep those numbers of civilian casualties as low as is possible.
The headline in the New York Times says U.S. has warned Israel to fight more surgically in Gaza, hoping to avoid further mass displacement of Palestinians. Should we expect that it will be less of a bombardment in southern Gaza as we saw in northern Gaza? Will you all be more surgical?
First of all, we're always trying to be surgical. Once again, we distinguish between Gazan civilians who are not the target of our operation and between the Hamas killers who we want to destroy. Let's be frank. The situation in southern Gaza is different from the north. It's a different terrain, different population density. It's more agricultural. And so I think it's easier for us to hit Hamas there without seeing innocent people caught up in the crossfire. But once again, we urge the civilian population of Gaza to relocate as quickly as they can to these special zones we've designated where we know they'll be safer.
Mark Regev, senior advisor to Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, thank you for joining us and joining us this morning. We appreciate it.